Sabyasachi Majumdar, who is a senior director at Care Ratings, now joins us on the show to discuss this and more. Thanks so much for taking time out. Um, Give us a sense as to what the overall outlook is, a bit of a macro picture, if you will, for the sector and as a whole in the country, given that we understand that peak power demand is expected to hit 260 megawatts this summer. Are we prepared for it?
Yeah. So if you see, we have a peak demand of 260 gigawatt. Now we must also remember on the supply side, we do have about 245 gigawatts of close to 250, in fact, gigawatts of thermal capacity, which includes both coal as well as gas. In addition, we have about 17 gigawatts of capacity, about 7 to 8 gigawatts of nuclear, and about 10 gigawatts of biomass and cogen. And these are all capable of running as baseload stations. So, unlike in the past where we were seeing that there used to be a coal constraint, typically at the start of the financial year, which would result in the fact that the thermal power projects would struggle to operate at full capacities. But this time, because of proactive steps being taken by the governments as well as by the distribution companies, we are much better placed. We started the year with about 50 million tons of coal, which roughly, given that the thermal coal segment takes about 850 million tons of coal, that is roughly about 20 to 22 odd days of average coal supply with the thermal power plants. And coal imports are continuing, which basically means that we would be in a position to flog our thermal power projects to meet the peak demand. In addition, we have some 20 odd gigawatts of gas based generation, and the government has given a directive for them to remain open for the peak season. Obviously, these power projects are going to, I mean, the power from the gas based stations are obviously going to be very expensive, given the current gas based prices of RLNG. The variable cost itself will be more than 7 rupees. So the thing is, as long as the discoms are willing to pay for the power that they offtake, absolute availability of power from the thermal and gas based segment is not going to be an issue. In addition to this is also the some of the peak demand will also be, we have a fairly significant amount of wind and solar capacity as well, and for both wind and solar this is a very good season for generation. So overall, unlike in the past, couple of years, for instance, in calendar year 21 and 22, we saw a lot of supply constraints. At least for the current year, I don't foresee an absolute supply constraint for the current coming year.
My next question is that the power demand in India is growing in the range of about 8 to 9%. So if one looks at the fact that summers have come early, temperatures are going to be above normal, how much do you think would be the pent-up power demand only these 3 seasons, in 3 months?
You're talking about the next 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, because there is going to be a surge, right? 8 to 9% is normal. But because...
Yeah, no, actually, if you see, we are expecting the GDP to grow at about 7%. So typically, power is often taken as a ballpark about 0.9x of the GDP. So if you have to go by that formula, the year-round average would be about 6.5%. But at the same time, as you have rightly pointed out, what we have seen over the last 2 to 3 years is that since the overall most of the households are now connected, and fairly regular supply is also provided to the agriculture segment. Weather related considerations can often very much influence the generation. For instance, in the first quarter of the last financial year, where there's a lot of apprehension that the capacities, the demand would be very high, but because of unusually mild summer, particularly April and the first part of May, because of unusual unseasonal rain, the demand was impacted. But at the same time, during the monsoon, we saw that because of weak monsoons, since the hydro generation was less and the agricultural demand was picking up a lot of power, there was a very unusual peak in the months of August to September. So we can look at about 6 to 6.5% demand growth. But again, there will be peaks based on how the weather, extreme weather conditions, very hot summers or very cold
Right.
winters, or prolonged breaks in monsoon can have temporary spikes in the demand.
Yeah, so you have a bit of a moderate growth target in terms of the electricity demand, just around 6.5, 7%. But that's what we're talking about, those intermittent, spikes that are likely to happen. Do you think on account of that, merchant tariff rates will continue to be quite high in this summer season? What's your own expectation around that?
Yes, I think even if we exclude the peaks, the fact is that our overall PLFs have been fairly robust. I mean, if you look at the full year, PLF was close to 69-70%. Although of course we have seen in the past, very high 70% PLFs also. The fact is that in the past 4 to 5 years, the PLFs have been in the low to mid 60 range. But the fact that we have already reached about 70% PLF, and there's not that much of a spare capacity apart from gas. Obviously, the overall supply demand imbalances will be there, particularly in the peak. So we do expect the short term tariffs also to remain on the higher side. Plus, we must remember this is an election year, and all the discoms, none of the discoms would want to, have load shedding because of that, and because of that, the pickup of power is going to be robust from the discom. So at least in the near term, we are expecting the short-term tariffs to remain elevated.
Appreciate your time. Tariffs could remain elevated. Supply-demand mismatch has led to a supply deficit. Thank you for giving us a sense of all things that are going on within the power sector as a whole.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.